Our planet is a living mosaic of ecosystems, each one unique and vital, interconnected in ways that sustain life. From the towering rainforests of the Amazon to the intricate coral reefs of the Pacific, these natural communities form the foundation of the Earth's health. They regulate the climate, purify the air, provide fresh water, and contribute to countless other services that human societies depend on. But despite their importance, ecosystems are in grave danger, facing unprecedented challenges that threaten their stability and, in turn, our own survival. The term ecosystem refers to a community of living organisms and their interactions with the non-living components of their environment. This intricate web of relationships forms a delicate balance that, when disrupted, can lead to a cascade of negative effects. The health of one ecosystem can influence others, creating a ripple effect that reverberates across the globe. When one part of this balance breaks down, it puts the entire system at risk. As human activity accelerates, we find ourselves in a race against time to protect these vital ecosystems. The drivers of their decline, habitat destruction, climate change, pollution and overexploitation, threaten not just individual species, but the very fabric of life as we know it. In this chapter, we will explore the fragility of Earth's ecosystems and the urgency of taking meaningful action to protect them. The future of our planet depends on how we respond to this crisis today. The delicate balance that sustains ecosystems is under threat from a variety of human activities. The decline of these natural systems is not the result of a single factor, but rather the culmination of numerous interconnected pressures. Understanding these drivers of decline is essential to addressing the root causes of the crisis. One of the primary contributors to ecosystem degradation is habitat destruction. As the human population grows, so too does the demand for land. Urbanization leads to the clearing of forests and the draining of wetlands to make way for cities, roads and infrastructure. This disrupts the natural habitats of countless species, forcing them into smaller, fragmented spaces or driving them to extinction. Deforestation, particularly in tropical rainforest, is one of the most significant examples of habitat destruction. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the Earth, has seen millions of hectares cleared each year, driven by agricultural expansion, logging and mining. This not only displaces wildlife, but also contributes to climate change by reducing the planet's capacity to absorb carbon dioxide. Agriculture, while necessary for food production, is another major driver of habitat loss. The conversion of natural landscapes into farmland leads to monocultures that lack biodiversity and reduce the resilience of ecosystems to disease and extreme weather events. Climate change is perhaps the most far-reaching and complex threat facing ecosystems. Human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation, have led to a rapid increase in greenhouse gas emissions, resulting in global warming. This warming has far-reaching implications for ecosystems worldwide. Rising temperatures have led to the melting of ice caps and glaciers, affecting polar ecosystems and the species that depend on them, such as polar bears and penguins. The Arctic and Antarctic regions are experiencing some of the fastest warming rates on the planet, leading to habitat loss and the disruption of food chains. Shifting weather patterns also play a critical role in the disruption of ecosystems. More frequent and intense storms, droughts and floods not only damage habitats, but also challenge the ability of plants and animals to adapt. Coral reefs, for example, are highly sensitive to temperature changes, and even a slight increase can lead to widespread coral bleaching, which weakens the entire ecosystem and reduces the reef's ability to support marine life. Pollution in its many forms contributes significantly to ecosystem decline. Plastic waste is one of the most visible and troubling types of pollution affecting land and marine environments. Millions of tons of plastic end up in oceans each year, where it breaks down into microplastics that are ingested by marine life, entering the food chain and potentially affecting human health. Chemical pollution from pesticides and industrial waste contaminates water sources and soil, harming wildlife and reducing the quality of ecosystems. Pesticides not only affect target species but can also have harmful impacts on beneficial insects like bees, which are crucial for pollination. Chemical pollutants can disrupt reproductive cycles, weaken immune systems, and lead to the decline of species. Air pollution is another significant contributor, with emissions from factories, vehicles and power plants releasing harmful substances such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. These pollutants contribute to acid rain, which can damage plant life, and smog, which affects both plants and animals, impacting respiratory health and overall ecosystem stability. Overexploitation occurs when natural resources are used faster than they can be replenished, leading to a depletion that affects the balance of entire ecosystems. Overfishing is one of the most visible examples of this problem, with many fish stocks being pushed to the brink of collapse due to unsustainable fishing practices. Without adequate population control, fish species struggle to recover, disrupting the food web and affecting other species that depend on them. Poaching, the illegal hunting or capturing of wildlife, has driven numerous species to the brink of extinction. The demand for ivory, rhino horn and exotic pets has led to the decimation of many animal populations. In addition to harming individual species, poaching can alter the dynamics of entire ecosystems by removing key species that play critical roles in their environments. Resource depletion extends beyond wildlife. Unsustainable logging and mining deplete valuable resources and leave ecosystems stripped of their ability to regenerate. These practices lead to soil degradation, desertification, and a loss of habitat that can take decades or even centuries to recover from, if at all. Some ecosystems are particularly vulnerable to the pressures of human activity and climate change. These environments, often home to diverse species and critical ecological functions, are being rapidly degraded, and without immediate intervention, they risk irreversible collapse. In this section, we explore some of the most at-risk ecosystems on Earth. Coral reefs are among the most biologically rich ecosystems on the planet, often referred to as the rainforests of the sea. They support a vast array of marine life, including fish, mollusks and marine mammals, and are crucial to coastal protection, as they help reduce wave energy and prevent erosion. However, coral reefs are under siege from a combination of factors, including climate change, pollution and overfishing. Rising sea temperatures due to global warming have led to coral bleaching, a phenomenon where corals expel the algae living within their tissues in response to stress. These algae provide corals with food through photosynthesis, and without them, the corals lose their color and become vulnerable to disease. Prolonged bleaching can lead to coral death, which in turn disrupts the entire reef ecosystem, affecting species that depend on the reef for shelter and food. Ocean acidification, another consequence of rising carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, further compounds the problem. As CO2 dissolves in seawater, it lowers the water's pH, making it more difficult for corals to build their calcium carbonate skeletons. This weakens the corals and makes them more susceptible to damage from storms, disease and bleaching events. Rainforests are the planet's lungs, absorbing vast amounts of carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. They are also home to over half of the world's species, including countless plants, insects and animals that exist nowhere else on Earth. Despite their importance, rainforests are being destroyed at an alarming rate, primarily due to deforestation for agriculture, logging and infrastructure development. In the Amazon rainforest, illegal logging, mining and agriculture, especially cattle ranching and soybean farming, have led to vast tracts of forest being cleared. This not only threatens the biodiversity of the region, but also accelerates climate change by releasing the carbon stored in trees into the atmosphere. The loss of rainforest habitat puts species such as jaguars, sloths and countless bird species at risk of extinction. Deforestation also disrupts the water cycle in rainforests, leading to changes in precipitation patterns, reduced soil fertility, and an increased risk of floods and droughts. As forests are cleared, local and global climates are affected, and the survival of countless species is jeopardized. Wetlands, including marshes, swamps and peatlands, are among the most important yet most threatened ecosystems on Earth. They serve as natural filters, trapping pollutants and excess nutrients from water, and they provide habitat for a wide variety of species, including migratory birds, amphibians and fish. However, wetlands are being drained for agriculture, urbanization and industrial use. In many parts of the world, wetlands are being converted into farmland, particularly for rice paddies or grazing lands. The loss of these critical ecosystems has far-reaching consequences, as wetlands play a vital role in flood control, water purification and carbon storage. Their destruction exacerbates the impacts of climate change and increases vulnerability to natural disasters. Wetlands are also rich in biodiversity, hosting many species that are not found elsewhere. When these ecosystems disappear, they take with them not only valuable ecological functions, but also the animals and plants that depend on them. The loss of wetland habitats threatens both local wildlife and the global climate. The Arctic and Antarctic are two of the most extreme and fragile ecosystems on the planet, yet they are experiencing some of the fastest and most drastic environmental changes. Rising global temperatures are causing the ice in both polar regions to melt at unprecedented rates, leading to the loss of habitat for iconic species such as polar bears, penguins and seals. In the Arctic, sea ice is melting earlier in the spring and refreezing later in the autumn, disrupting the migration patterns and feeding habits of marine species like seals and whales. The loss of sea ice also exposes darker ocean waters that absorb more heat, creating a feedback loop that accelerates warming. As the ice sheet melts, it contributes to rising sea levels, which threaten coastal communities worldwide. In Antarctica, melting ice sheets are leading to rising sea levels, and the warming ocean is threatening krill populations, which are a critical food source for many marine species. This disruption to the food web is cascading through the ecosystem, affecting fish, seabirds and mammals that rely on krill for survival. Grasslands, such as the prairies of North America and the savannas of Africa, are vital ecosystems that support a wide range of wildlife and plant species. These regions act as carbon sinks, storing large amounts of carbon in the soil, and they play a key role in regulating the global climate. However, grasslands are increasingly threatened by desertification, a process where fertile land becomes desert due to overgrazing, deforestation and climate change. In many parts of the world, grasslands are being converted into farmland or used for grazing livestock, leading to soil erosion, loss of native plant species, and the depletion of resources. As grasslands are overexploited, their ability to store carbon diminishes, exacerbating climate change. The loss of grassland ecosystems also threatens species that depend on them, including bison, antelope, and various grassland birds. Without intervention, these ecosystems may continue to degrade, leading to a loss of biodiversity and further climate destabilization. The ripple effect: consequences of ecosystem collapse. When ecosystems falter, the consequences are felt far beyond the immediate area of collapse. The interconnectedness of life means that disruptions in one part of the world can lead to a chain reaction affecting the health, stability, and sustainability of the entire planet. Understanding the ripple effect of ecosystem collapse helps illustrate why protecting these natural systems is not just an environmental concern, but a matter of survival for all life forms, including humans. Loss of biodiversity. The extinction crisis. One of the most immediate and visible consequences of ecosystem collapse is the loss of biodiversity. Species that depend on specific ecosystems for their survival are often unable to adapt quickly enough to changes, leading to population declines and ultimately extinction. The decline of one species can disrupt the food chain and impact other organisms that rely on it, creating a domino effect that weakens the overall structure of the ecosystem. The extinction crisis is not a future threat, it is happening now. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, reports that nearly 1 million species are at risk of extinction due to human activity. The loss of these species is not just a tragic end for individual organisms, but represents the collapse of complex networks that contribute to ecosystem stability. For example, pollinators like bees and butterflies are critical for the pollination of many crops and wild plants. If their numbers dwindle, food supplies for humans and other animals will face significant disruptions. Disruption of ecosystem services, clean air, water, and pollination. Ecosystems provide essential services that we often take for granted, from the air we breathe to the water we drink and the food we eat. When ecosystems collapse, these services are severely compromised, impacting human health and survival. Forests, for instance, act as natural air purifiers by absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. Deforestation reduces the Earth's capacity to regulate the atmosphere, contributing to increased levels of greenhouse gases and climate instability. Wetlands, on the other hand, act as natural water filters, trapping pollutants and preventing them from entering waterways. Without healthy wetlands, water quality diminishes, leading to an increase in waterborne diseases and scarcity of clean drinking water. Pollination, essential for the reproduction of many crops, is another service that suffers when ecosystems are damaged. The loss of pollinators such as bees, bats, and certain bird species can lead to decreased yields in fruits, vegetables, and nuts, putting food security at risk. These disruptions not only affect agriculture but also the biodiversity of wild plants, many of which have medicinal and cultural significance. Economic impacts, fisheries collapse. Agricultural losses and natural disasters. The economic consequences of ecosystem collapse are profound, affecting everything from global markets to local livelihoods. One of the most significant economic impacts is the collapse of fisheries. Overfishing and damage to marine ecosystems have led to declining fish populations, impacting the livelihoods of millions of people who depend on fishing for income and food. A decrease in fish stocks can lead to higher prices, food shortages and job losses, with ripple effects across entire economies. Agricultural losses are another major concern. Degraded land and the loss of biodiversity reduce the resilience of agricultural systems, making crops more susceptible to pests, diseases, and extreme weather events. This can result in reduced yields and food shortages, driving up food prices and exacerbating food insecurity for vulnerable populations. Natural disasters such as hurricanes, floods, and wildfires are also becoming more frequent and intense due to the destabilization of ecosystems. Coastal wetlands and mangroves, for instance, act as buffers against storm surges, protecting coastal communities from flooding and erosion. When these ecosystems are lost, communities become more exposed to the devastating impacts of natural disasters, leading to economic losses that can take years or decades to recover from. The collapse of ecosystems has severe social and cultural implications, particularly for indigenous communities and those who have lived in harmony with their environment for generations. These communities rely on healthy ecosystems for food, medicine, and materials for their traditional practices. When an ecosystem collapses, it threatens not just their livelihoods but their cultural identity and way of life. For example, the depletion of fish stocks can force coastal communities to abandon traditional fishing practices and seek alternative means of survival, often leading to migration and displacement. The destruction of rainforests can displace indigenous tribes that depend on them for shelter, food, and cultural practices, leading to conflicts over land rights and the erosion of cultural heritage. Ecosystem collapse can also exacerbate social inequalities, as vulnerable populations are disproportionately affected by environmental degradation. The loss of natural resources can fuel resource conflicts and contribute to social unrest, as communities vie for access to dwindling supplies of water, land, and food. The consequences of ecosystem collapse are vast and interconnected, demonstrating that what happens to one part of the natural world can have far-reaching impacts on the rest. The urgency to address these challenges is clear, Protecting and restoring ecosystems is not just an environmental issue, but a global priority that affects economic stability, food security, and human well-being. While the challenges facing the world's ecosystems can feel overwhelming, there are inspiring examples that show how concerted conservation efforts can lead to real change. These success stories highlight the resilience of nature when given the opportunity to recover, and the power of human ingenuity and dedication in reversing environmental damage. By learning from these examples, we can apply effective strategies to other threatened ecosystems and build hope for the future. The recovery of endangered species through targeted efforts is one of the most encouraging examples of successful conservation. One of the standout stories is that of the giant panda. Once listed as endangered with only about 1,000 individuals remaining in the wild, its population has now increased to over 1,800 thanks to targeted efforts. These efforts included habitat protection, reforestation, and captive breeding programs that allowed pandas to be released into the wild. Another powerful success story is the comeback of the bald eagle in the United States. After decades of population decline due to hunting, habitat loss, and the use of the pesticide DDT, the species was on the brink of disappearing. Through dedicated conservation measures such as banning DDT, establishing protected areas, and implementing breeding programs, the bald eagle population has rebounded dramatically and is now considered a conservation success. These stories remind us that with the right mix of policy, community involvement, and scientific intervention, even the most threatened species can make a comeback. Restored ecosystems. Examples of wetland rejuvenation and coral farming show another powerful way to combat environmental decline and support biodiversity. One notable example is the restoration of the Florida Everglades, a unique and vital wetland ecosystem that faced decades of drainage and degradation due to agricultural development and urbanization. Large-scale restoration projects involving water flow management, replanting native vegetation, and improving water quality have started to bring life back to this once threatened area. Today, the Everglades are home to increased populations of birds, fish, and other wildlife, showing that with enough time and investment, ecosystems can be brought back to life. Coral farming is also an innovative approach that has shown promising results in restoring damaged reefs. In places like the Philippines and the Caribbean, conservationists have experimented with coral nurseries where coral fragments are cultivated and nurtured until they are large enough to be transplanted onto reef structures. These efforts have proven effective in rebuilding reef structures, improving fish populations, and increasing biodiversity. Although challenges remain, the progress seen in coral farming demonstrates that ecosystems can be restored with human dedication and technological innovation. Policy-driven victories, protected areas, and international agreements. Conservation policies and international agreements play a crucial role in protecting ecosystems and enabling their recovery. The establishment of protected areas such as national parks and marine reserves has been proven to create safe havens where wildlife can thrive without the pressures of habitat destruction, overexploitation, and pollution. One successful example is the recovery of the humpback whale population, which was once pushed to the brink of extinction due to whaling. The international whaling ban established by the International Whaling Commission in 1986, combined with the creation of marine protected areas, has allowed populations to rebound significantly in some regions. Another policy-driven success is the 30 by 30 initiative, which aims to protect 30% of the planet's land and marine areas by 2030. This ambitious goal is supported by various countries and has already led to the expansion of protected areas and stronger environmental laws. The impact of such policies not only helps specific ecosystems, but contributes to global climate stabilization and biodiversity conservation. These success stories show that when governments, NGOs, and local communities work together with clear policies and strategies, significant progress can be made. They are a testament to the fact that with the right political will and public support, large-scale environmental change is achievable. Conservation wins provide hope and proof that meaningful change is possible. They demonstrate the importance of commitment, collaboration and innovation in protecting and restoring our planet's ecosystems. As we face more urgent and larger-scale challenges, these success stories offer a roadmap to guide future conservation efforts and inspire global action. Innovations and solutions for ecosystem protection. As the challenges to global ecosystems continue to grow, so too does the need for innovative approaches to conservation. While traditional strategies remain essential, technological advancements and new methodologies are playing an increasingly critical role in protecting and restoring the natural world. From AI-powered monitoring systems to community-led initiatives, a diverse range of solutions is proving that conservation is not just a necessity, but an opportunity to build a more sustainable and interconnected world. The role of technology, drones, AI, and remote sensing in conservation. Technology has opened up new possibilities for monitoring and managing ecosystems with unprecedented precision. Drones, for example, are being used to survey remote and difficult-to-reach areas, providing high-resolution imagery that helps map habitats, track wildlife populations, and monitor changes in ecosystems over time. This tool has been particularly useful for tracking poaching activities, allowing conservationists to respond more effectively to illegal hunting and logging. Artificial intelligence, or AI, has also become a powerful tool for conservation. AI algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data, such as camera trap images and audio recordings, to identify species, track movements, and detect trends in animal populations. This ability to process large datasets quickly and accurately means that conservationists can gain valuable insights and make data-driven decisions to protect endangered species and their habitats. For instance, AI is used to track rhino movements and predict potential poaching hotspots, enabling authorities to deploy anti-poaching units more efficiently. Remote sensing technologies such as satellites have revolutionized the way we monitor ecosystems at a global scale. By providing real-time data on deforestation, sea level rise, and other environmental changes, satellite imagery supports policymaking and conservation planning. For example, monitoring the health of coral reefs from space can inform scientists and governments about bleaching events, allowing for quicker responses and better management strategies. Community-driven conservation, grassroots efforts, and local stewardship. While technology is powerful, the human connection to the land and community involvement are equally vital in conservation efforts. Community-driven conservation initiatives leverage the knowledge and experience of local populations, empowering them to take an active role in protecting their environment. Indigenous communities in particular hold a deep understanding of their ecosystems and have long practiced sustainable living that aligns with the principles of conservation. Collaborating with these communities can yield effective, culturally sensitive solutions that benefit both the environment and the people who depend on it. Programs like community-based marine protected areas have shown great success. In the Philippines, for example, local fishing communities have been engaged in creating and managing small marine reserves. These reserves have led to improved fish stocks, increased biodiversity, and stronger community cohesion. Empowering local people not only helps to restore ecosystems but also provides economic opportunities through ecotourism and sustainable fishing practices. Grassroots movements have also been instrumental in raising public awareness and advocating for environmental policies. By fostering a sense of shared responsibility, community-led efforts can spark large-scale changes. Initiatives such as tree planting programs, cleanup drives, and conservation education are examples of how communities can become stewards of their local ecosystems and inspire broader change. Sustainable practices, regenerative agriculture, responsible fishing, and ecotourism. Adopting sustainable practices in industries that have historically contributed to ecosystem degradation is essential for long-term environmental health. Regenerative agriculture, which focuses on restoring soil health and improving biodiversity, has emerged as an alternative to conventional farming methods that deplete the land. Techniques like crop rotation, agroforestry, and reduced tillage help maintain soil fertility, capture carbon, and support wildlife, making farming more resilient to climate change and less damaging to the environment. Responsible fishing practices are also crucial for protecting marine ecosystems. Overfishing has led to dramatic declines in fish populations, affecting not just the fish, but the entire oceanic food web. Sustainable fishing practices, supported by certifications like the Marine Stewardship Council label, ensure that fish populations are managed in a way that maintains ecological balance and allows fisheries to thrive long-term. Community-driven fisheries management plans have also been effective in ensuring sustainable yields and protecting vital marine habitats. Ecotourism is another way to combine environmental conservation with economic growth. By promoting sustainable travel practices and supporting local communities, ecotourism provides an economic incentive for conservation. Tourists who visit protected areas, wildlife sanctuaries, and natural reserves contribute to funding conservation efforts, while also raising awareness about the importance of protecting these spaces. When managed responsibly, ecotourism can reduce the environmental impact of traditional tourism and encourage the conservation of unique ecosystems. Rewilding is a conservation approach that seeks to restore ecosystems to their original state and reintroduce species that have been lost. This strategy aims to re-establish natural processes such as predator-prey relationships to create self-sustaining ecosystems. An example of successful rewilding is the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park. The return of wolves helped regulate the elk population, which in turn allowed overgrazed areas to recover, leading to the resurgence of vegetation and the return of other animal species such as beavers and birds. This cascading effect has demonstrated the importance of top predators in maintaining ecosystem health. Rewilding projects are also taking place in Europe, where species such as lynxes, European bison and wild horses are being reintroduced to their historic ranges. These projects not only restore ecological balance, but also help maintain biodiversity and promote a deeper connection between humans and the natural world. Innovative solutions and new approaches to conservation are proving that there is hope for our planet. By embracing technology, supporting local communities, promoting sustainable practices, and using rewilding as a tool for restoration, we can forge a path forward that protects ecosystems and ensures the future health of the Earth. While challenges remain, these innovations remind us that solutions are possible and that collective action can make a difference. Addressing the challenges facing ecosystems requires a multifaceted approach involving not just scientists and environmentalists, but entire societies. Governments, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and individuals all have vital roles to play in building a sustainable future. Effective environmental protection and restoration depend on collaboration across sectors and borders, where policies, local action, and global cooperation converge to create meaningful change. International treaties and agreements serve as a foundation for coordinated global action on environmental issues. The Paris Agreement is one such landmark accord that has united countries in a collective effort to combat climate change by limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. While the primary focus of the Paris Agreement is on greenhouse gas emissions, its impact is far-reaching, influencing policies that affect forests, wetlands, oceans and other ecosystems. The Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD, is another critical treaty that aims to protect the planet's biodiversity. Signed in 1992, the CBD has spurred countries to implement national strategies for conservation, sustainable use of natural resources, and equitable sharing of biodiversity benefits. The recent Global Biodiversity Framework sets ambitious targets, such as protecting 30% of the Earth's land and marine areas by 2030, to halt biodiversity loss and restore ecosystems. These agreements demonstrate the power of global cooperation in setting frameworks that hold nations accountable and drive collective action toward ecosystem protection. However, successful implementation requires political will, financial investment, and transparency to ensure that commitments lead to real change. Corporations are increasingly recognized as key players in ecosystem protection and sustainability. Industries that have historically contributed to environmental damage, such as agriculture, fishing, and manufacturing, are now being called upon to adopt greener practices. Companies are incorporating sustainability into their core business models, reducing their carbon footprints, adopting circular economy practices, and investing in eco-friendly technologies. For example, leading companies in the food and beverage industry are taking steps to source ingredients responsibly, promoting sustainable farming methods, and avoiding deforestation in supply chains. B Corp certified businesses are another example of corporate responsibility, where companies meet high environmental and social performance standards. These efforts not only help protect ecosystems, but also respond to the growing demand from consumers for eco-conscious products. Green technologies such as renewable energy solutions, electric vehicles, and sustainable packaging are making a significant difference in reducing the environmental impact of industries. Companies that prioritize innovation and sustainability are showing that economic growth can coexist with ecological responsibility. While large-scale policies and corporate shifts are necessary, individual action is also a powerful force for environmental change. Each person's choices can contribute to ecosystem protection and help shift cultural norms towards sustainability. Here are some ways individuals can make a difference. Adopting sustainable habits. Small changes in daily life, such as reducing waste, using reusable products, conserving water, and choosing sustainable food, can collectively lead to significant environmental benefits. Advocating for policy change, contacting local representatives, joining environmental organizations, and participating in public awareness campaigns can help influence policies that protect ecosystems. Social media and online platforms have made it easier than ever for individuals to amplify their voices and advocate for environmental policies. Supporting conservation efforts. Donating to or volunteering for NGOs that work on conservation projects can make a direct impact. Many organizations offer programs where individuals can adopt an animal, contribute to tree planting initiatives, or assist in habitat restoration. Educating others. Sharing knowledge about the importance of ecosystem health and the interconnectedness of all living things can inspire friends and family to adopt more sustainable practices. Education fosters a sense of shared responsibility and encourages more people to take action. Individual and community-driven efforts are a catalyst for change, creating a ripple effect that inspires others and supports larger conservation goals. The combined power of collective action, whether through policy advocacy, sustainable consumer choices, or grassroots movements, underscores the idea that no contribution is too small when it comes to protecting the planet. The protection and restoration of ecosystems require more than just awareness. They demand coordinated, multi-pronged action from all levels of society. Governments set the legal and policy frameworks, NGOs lead on-the-ground initiatives, corporations innovate and scale up sustainable practices, and individuals contribute through responsible choices and advocacy. Together, these efforts create a network of change that can transform our relationship with the natural world and safeguard ecosystems for future generations. As we stand at a pivotal moment in Earth's history, the choices we make now will determine the future of our planet. While the challenges we face are significant, the path forward is one filled with possibility. The vision for a thriving world involves ecosystems that are healthy, balanced and resilient, where biodiversity flourishes and the interconnectedness of all life is honored and protected. Achieving this vision requires a blend of innovation, policy, community action, and a deep commitment to sustainable living. Picture a world where the Earth's natural systems are not just surviving, but thriving. In this future, rainforests are dense with towering trees and rich with wildlife. Coral reefs are teeming with vibrant fish and healthy, colorful corals. Wetlands serve as essential habitats for countless bird species, and grasslands are home to herds of wild animals, unimpeded by agricultural encroachment. These ecosystems are not just beautiful, they provide critical services like clean air and water, carbon sequestration, and fertile land for sustainable farming. In this vision, human development exists in harmony with nature. Cities are designed with green infrastructure that mimics natural processes, balancing urban growth with biodiversity and ecological health. Solar panels, wind turbines, and electric vehicles are standard, reducing the carbon footprint and slowing the effects of climate change. Public spaces are filled with native plants and wildlife-friendly designs that support both people and the planet. The need for immediate action cannot be overstated. Scientific data and real-world experiences have shown that we are at a tipping point. Ecosystems are degrading at an alarming rate, and the time to reverse the damage is rapidly dwindling. If we do not act now, we risk crossing thresholds that could lead to irreversible loss of biodiversity, disruptions in climate patterns, and a diminished quality of life for all living organisms. Taking action means prioritizing conservation and sustainable practices across all aspects of society. It means holding governments accountable for implementing policies that protect natural habitats, supporting industries in adopting green technologies, and empowering individuals to make eco-conscious choices. The sooner we act, the greater the chance we have of mitigating the worst impacts of ecosystem loss and climate change, ensuring that the Earth remains a vibrant and life-sustaining place for future generations. Despite the overwhelming challenges, there is hope. The success stories from around the world, whether it's the comeback of endangered species, the restoration of degraded lands, or the growing network of protected marine areas, prove that positive change is not only possible but achievable. What these successes have in common is a collaborative effort, the partnership between governments, NGOs, businesses, scientists, and everyday citizens who recognize that protecting our planet is not an option, it's a necessity. Education plays a crucial role in inspiring hope and driving action. When people understand the intricate beauty of nature and the impact their actions have on the environment, they are more likely to take part in solutions. Initiatives that teach sustainable living, promote environmental stewardship, and foster a deeper connection to nature can cultivate a generation of passionate environmental advocates ready to face the challenges ahead. Communities are coming together around the world, reclaiming their spaces and restoring ecosystems, whether it's through rewilding projects that return keystone species to their habitats, or local conservation groups that plant trees and protect watersheds. These grassroots movements demonstrate the power of collective action. The health of our planet hangs in the balance, and the need for collective action has never been more urgent. Ecosystems are the foundation of life, providing essential services, supporting biodiversity and regulating our climate. Yet they are under immense pressure from human activities that disrupt their delicate balance. It is clear that if we are to preserve the beauty and function of our natural world, we must act decisively and work together across nations, industries, and communities. Protecting the Earth begins with recognizing the profound responsibility we share as inhabitants of this planet. It is not enough to rely on policies, corporations, or NGOs alone. Every person has a role to play. From choosing sustainable products to reducing waste and conserving water, small actions can lead to significant collective change. Advocating for stronger environmental policies, supporting renewable energy, and protecting natural spaces through community-led initiatives are powerful ways to contribute. Governments must continue to implement and expand environmental policies that prioritize conservation, while businesses must shift towards more sustainable and ethical practices. Collaborative international efforts must be maintained and strengthened, ensuring that biodiversity targets are met and climate action is prioritized. But these efforts must be paired with grassroots movements where local communities lead the charge and work to create sustainable models that can inspire others around the world. History has shown that humans are capable of remarkable ingenuity and resilience. From building structures that withstand natural disasters to developing technologies that clean up our oceans and restore degraded land, the power of human innovation is an invaluable asset in the fight for a healthier planet. By combining technology with traditional ecological knowledge and a sense of urgency, we can create solutions that bridge the gap between modern practices and the natural world. The challenges we face are daunting, but they are not insurmountable. The willingness of individuals to take responsibility, the creativity of scientists to develop sustainable solutions, and the determination of policymakers to enact meaningful change all contribute to a hopeful future. It is in our nature to adapt, to learn, and to rise to challenges. The current crisis is no different. It simply requires that we channel this resilience and ingenuity toward protecting and restoring the ecosystems that support life. Our actions today are the legacy we leave for tomorrow. When we invest in the protection of the environment, we invest in the future of our children, grandchildren, and countless generations yet to come. The Earth is not just a place we inhabit, it is a shared home that sustains life in all its forms. By embracing sustainable practices, supporting conservation efforts, and advocating for the planet, we can ensure that future generations inherit a world that is not only capable of sustaining life, but is thriving in its diversity and beauty. The choice is ours. We can continue on a path of environmental neglect and degradation, or we can choose a path of restoration and care. The time to act is now, and the actions we take today will shape the world of tomorrow. Let us rise to the challenge and become true guardians of the Earth, not just in words, but in every action we take, every policy we support, and every choice we make. The future depends on it, and so does the future of all life on this planet.